longer than a Gen 1 Octavia, wider than a Gen 1 Octavia, taller, more space, more features. In fact, when the Slavia was launched, Skoda made a big deal about how it improves upon that original Octavia in all measurable, practical aspects. But in our head, another tube light lit, and that is with the 1.5 TSI engine making 150 horsepower, the Slavia, it could be the spiritual successor to the original Octavia RS. And that's what we're going to find out in this video with the OG RS. But before we go ahead, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon to stay notified for all Evo India's video drops. And if you enjoy this video, give us a thumbs up and share this video with like-minded enthusiasts. What we have here is the Slavia with the 1.5 TSI engine, makes 148 bhp, 250 Newton meters of torque, and it is available with both the DSG gearbox and the manual gearbox. Now, the Slavia, it has drawn visual inspiration from the original Octavia, especially in the flow of this rear, the C-pillar. It sort of evokes the notchback that the Octavia had, but this is not a notchback. The Octavia, this is a proper notchback. The Slavia, it's a regular opening boot, which is designed to evoke memories of this. And the Octavia, man, it's built solid. It feels so heavy, so weighty, so German in its stance and in its weight of all the controls. On this Octavia RS, there were a lot of visual tweaks over the regular Octavia. So the boot spoiler, a fancy exhaust, bigger wheels. So this ran 16-inch wheels. Incidentally, the Slavia also has 16-inch wheels. These have been upgraded to 17s. The RS also had fancier bumpers, more sporty bumpers. It was lowered, so it gave it a better stance. And it also came in these loud colors like this yellow. It was a nice red also. It's been a while since I drove the RS. Can't wait to get going. The Octavia, it was a very, very important car in the Indian automotive history. This was the first car that we experienced which was a properly modern European car. When it was launched in 2000, I remember I had just joined Overdrive back then. I was an intern still, and we had gone to Aurangabad to drive the very first Octavias that had come, and it really blew our minds. This was the first car that we had experienced where the seats adjusted for height and it could really go down low, so you had a nice proper driving position, a sporty driving position. The steering, it adjusted for reach as well as rake. That was also a very cool thing. The power windows, one touch operation, and even today the quality of these power window switches is superb. We'll talk about that when we go into the Slavia, but these feel like better quality items. The noise when the door locks engage, that sounds proper precision German engineered. The operation of the door handles, the doors itself, the doors feel like they are Swiss bank vault doors. They're so heavy and solid. And then of course with the Octavia RS, everything got better, everything. So on the interiors, you got this different gear knob with the VRS. This actually is nicely weathered. It shows that it has been used and enjoyed. It had a different steering wheel. The center console, it wasn't like this. It wasn't this carbon fiber finish. It got a silver finish center console. It got metal pedals. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, the aircon, climate control. That was also one of the few cars with climate control in those days. The Octavia RS, it wasn't a sticker job. In those days, sticker jobs were everything. I remember on the Icon, Ford had put some stickers and they called it the Rally Sport. All that rubbish used to go on. But this was a proper fast car, in the fact that this was India's first turbo petrol engine car. We had never experienced turbocharged petrol engines till then. In fact, turbocharged diesel engines were just coming in. And this car, it moved. It really moved. 1.8 litre turbo petrol engine, 150 bhp, 250 Newton meters of torque, 16-inch wheels, lowered ride height, a 5-speed manual gearbox. Oh, this was the car to have. Until then, the Honda City VTEC was the car to have, but this came and blew the VTEC to the weeds. It was, of course, more expensive, but this built a cult fan following. It looked cool, it went hard and fast, and then tuners went mental with it. It's rare to find a Gen 1 Octavia RS which hasn't been worked on. This one has got a Stage 2 map on it. It's got strut braces, bigger 17-inch wheels. It came with 16-inch wheels, stiffened suspension. Everybody worked on the Octavia RS, and it was a car that actually encouraged you to work on. The exhaust on this, obviously, it's a little louder than the stock exhaust, but even the stock RS, it sounded nice. Even today, wow, what a car to drive this is. The steering, of course, by today's standard, it feels a bit heavy, but what that does is that it gives you a more planted feel. It makes you more connected with the car, makes the car more involving. In the city, it might be a bit of a hassle, but driving like this, when you're enjoying your drive, this is how you want steering to be. The brakes have a nice feel to it, nice bite, stops really well for a 16-year-old car. You normally expect the brakes to be quite shit, but actually no. The gear shift, nice sweet gear shift. You can heel toe, play around with it. So nice. And the beauty is that you can get these Gen 1 RSs for like 3 lakh rupees for a well-kept example with a tune on it. A proper N2 cutlet of a car. But of course, it's not a Japanese car, so you will have to know your mechanic on a first name basis, and you will be visiting him pretty often. But then, nothing in this world comes free, does it? The suspension, it is lowered, and that was a problem because it does touch on big speed breakers and it is stiff. Even this road is relatively smooth, but you can feel every small ripple in it. It is hard, it is hard. But all of that just highlights the fact that this is a sporty car. This is not a daily runabout car. This is a sporty car that you enjoy driving, that puts you in the mood for some enthusiastic driving. And you know what? Even today, the Octavia RS will out-drag a Slavia 1.5. Same power. In fact, the Slavia makes a little bit more torque, but this is faster. When we tested it in the day, it delivered a 0 to 100 time in just under 9 seconds. The Slavia, it does it in just under 10 seconds, and that too with the DSG gearbox. I guess it's also the emission norms, because 18 years ago, what emission norms were there? And you just look at it and you're filled with this wave of respect that this is the OG RS, a car that demands respect and that earned its spurs. We didn't have fast cars, and Esteem was a fast car. A Baleno, the old OG Baleno with the 1.6 engine, that was a fast car. Obviously the City VTEC was there. But this took the 100 odd horsepower that those made and added 50% to it. 150 bhp to the 100 bhp of those cars. And plus the turbocharged torque. All the others were high revving, naturally aspirated engines. This was a torquey, meaty engine. The power delivery was completely different from everything else that we were driving in those days. And then you had this whoosh, whoosh from the turbo, a new experience. The phrase thrill of driving, it had yet to be coined in 2004 when the Octavia RS was launched. But this, it was the definition of the thrill of driving. Oh, and I must point out, it has a sunroof, and sort of like the same size sunroof as the Slavia. So that reminds me, let's go and drive the Slavia, and let's see if it can evoke the same kind of reactions as this Octavia RS does. Jump into the Slavia from the OG RS, and the first thing you notice is that you sit much higher. So the seats, it goes down, but not as much as you would want, not as much as in the Octavia. And the car itself, it is just so much higher than the Octavia RS. This is almost like an SUV seating position, and we spoke about that in our road test of the Slavia. But the contrast to the Octavia is remarkable. It's just so much higher that you sit, which doesn't feel sporty, to be honest. The low slung seating position, that is what feels sporty. And the second is this engine. Okay, that is the pace of progress. It is so much smoother. It really is like butter compared to the RS's engine. That 1.8 turbo petrol, it wasn't a direct injection turbo petrol. This is a powerful and really tech infused engine, and of course it meets all current emission norms. This 1.5 engine, you can get it with the 7-speed DSG automatic or the 6-speed manual gearbox. So it does have a manual gearbox if you like to roll through the gears yourself, like to be more involved in the driving experience. The other noticeable difference, of course, that stupid speed buzzer that all new cars have, but the steering is so much lighter. Of course, the RS is a bit too heavy going by current standards, but this is too light going by current standards. It needs to have a little bit more weight. At least when you build up speed, then it should build up weight. It should feel a little heavier. But it builds up speed quite well. Not as energetic as the Octavia RS. Of course, all the new emission norms does strangle engines. But doesn't feel as quick, as much of a rocket as that Octavia RS was. And over speed breakers, my word, this is 10 times better, if not 20 times better. It is a very refined engine, no question about that, but not a firecracker. Or maybe the RS, the old RS, has spoiled us, has altered our perspectives for a bit. It does get paddle shifters for the steering wheel, so that gives you a bit of manual control. Very easy to drive. Oh, speed breakers, it just goes so beautifully. There's never ever worry of it touching down. So all those issues are sorted out, and that just shows that Skoda, they've been understanding the Indian market and they've been delivering what Indian customers they want. But maybe for the 1.5 they could have toned down a bit on the practicality aspects, because the 1 liter is there, right? For somebody who wants a practical sedan, the 1 liter is there. The 1.5 would be bought by enthusiasts, and enthusiasts want a little bit more. They want to feel a little special, and unfortunately the 1.5 Slavia, it doesn't make you feel that special, that different from the 1 liter. But I'm telling you, you take it easy, and this is so nice. When you drive this, after that, there's really no need for an SUV. People buy SUVs because of the whole ground clearance issue, bad roads issue. But with this, those issues are just not there. This is a sedan with all the beauty and style and stance associated with it, but that delivers the practicality of an SUV. Speaking of stance, this runs 16-inch wheels, but there is space for 17-inch wheels. The Kushaq runs 17s, for instance, so there is space for 17s, and if you slap on 17s onto this, it'll just give it a much nicer stance. If you lower it by just 10 millimeters, you lower it, it's not going to affect the ground clearance and all of that, but it'll add to the stance, it'll make it look a little bit more sporty. That is what this car needs. And that is what will bring back memories of the OG RS. Maybe that's what they can do with the Monte Carlo. We hear there is a Monte Carlo version coming. A Monte Carlo on the Kushaq, a Monte Carlo on the Slavia also after that. And if they do all of this on the Monte Carlo, boy oh boy will we be happy. They probably won't be able to call it the RS because there will be global guidelines for all of it. But they can do a Monte Carlo that will make us enthusiasts smile. As of now, the Slavia 1.5, it presents a great opportunity for tuners to work their magic on it. A map, lowered springs, stiffer suspension, bigger wheels, a throaty exhaust. And that's it, you're done. You have an N2 cutlet. So is the Slavia 1.5 the spiritual successor to the OG RS? Well, in this current shape and form, maybe not. One of the things is that the 1.5 Slavia looks no different from the 1 liter, and that is a big drawback. That's why not too many people are flocking towards it. Remember the OG RS, it had the spoiler, bigger wheels, different exhaust. It looked different from the regular Octavia, and that was one of its calling cards. Another thing is that the Slavia, at least the 1.5, needs to be a little sporty. So lower the ride height, maybe 10 millimeters, that's all. It's not going to affect the ground clearance over speed breakers, but it'll give it a slightly sportier stance. That will also allow it to put down its power better. Also, give it a slightly throatier exhaust. Now, the OG RS, it had a quad-shaped exhaust pipe. This one is running twin exhaust pipes, and interestingly, the 1.5 Slavia actually has twin exhaust pipes, but the bumper, it doesn't have any cutouts, so it doesn't portray it. But if this had slight sporty tweaks, like a bumper cutout, showcase the exhaust, a blacked out roof, a small spoiler, slightly lower stance, give it bigger wheels, maybe 18-inch wheels, and that will give it the ingredients to make this the successor to a car that we all grew up lusting after. The ingredients are all there. It just needs Skoda to add some masala to it.